Amid the Justice Department scandal, perhaps more than ever before, journalists and citizens are raising questions over the freedom of the media to get news and talk to sources in private. While details remain murky, there are very clear guidelines when it comes to the Justice Department getting subpoenas of the news media. These are standards the DOJ sets for itself. Let's take a look at them now. According to the rules, the investigation must be as narrowly drawn as possible. As of now, the AP isn't convinced that this is the case at all. The facts point to the opposite. We know now that the Justice Department traced incoming and outgoing calls on 20 telephone lines in 3 separate bureaus and the Capitol Press Gallery. This includes private and work lines traced over the span of 2 months. The AP believes that over 100 employees could be involved. With this in mind, it appears the investigation was quite broad and not at all narrow. Another requirement is to first seek information from alternative sources. The Justice Department says it did in fact try to identify the person that leaked the information to the media through other means. The Deputy Attorney General said, quote, "In this case, the department undertook a comprehensive investigation, including, among other investigative steps, conducting over 550 interviews and reviewing tens of thousands of documents before seeking the toll records at issue." But considering the scope of the investigation, the AP and many others are not convinced that tracking reporters' phone calls was a last resort. Now, there's also this obligation to inform and negotiate. Now, reporters at the Associated Press were clearly not informed about the investigation because they had no idea that their calls were being scrutinized by the Justice Department. But there is one exception, and that's when doing so is a threat to national security. President Obama today said he had full confidence in the Attorney General and the Justice Department's decisions.
Leaks related to national security can put people at risk. They can put men and women in uniform that I've sent into the battlefield at risk. They can put some of our intelligence officers who are in various dangerous situations that are easily compromised at risk. U.S. national security is dependent on those folks being able to operate with confidence that folks back home have their backs.
But the AP maintains they held off on publishing the story until they were sure doing so would not put anyone's life in danger. Interestingly enough, within hours of the AP publishing the story in question, John Brennan, who was the White House counterterrorism advisor at the time, gave even more details to the press on the foiled terror plot than discussed in that AP report, including the fact that the U.S. had an inside source. And the guidelines dictate that any subpoena requires the approval of the Attorney General. But it's clear that this did not happen because Attorney General Eric Holder seems to be unaware of the details, pointing his finger at the Deputy Attorney General. Here he was facing questions from lawmakers yesterday.
There are exceptions to some of the rules that you pointed out, and I have faith in the people who actually were responsible for this case, that they were aware of the rules and that they followed them.
Now, with such a broad secret investigation into the media, there is unprecedented scrutiny over government transparency. This after President Obama promised his administration would be more open than his predecessors. But this scandal has many members of the media and the public questioning just how transparent this administration really is. In Washington, Liz Wall, RT.